Hello, my name is Carla,
And I'm Keyasia.
And I'm Anthony.
and we are doing an overview of ProPublica.
ProPublica is a nonprofit, and our mission is to spur reform through investigative journalism.
You have the opportunity here to do stories that actually make a difference, which, in a world of clicks and page views and the rest of it is really an unusual thing.
Spy agencies have been spying on Angry Birds.
One of the things that we're trying to do at ProPublica is to show people that there is a new model possible, not only for investigative journalism, but for nonprofit journalism in general. Our website is free, and we also work through a Creative Commons license that allows any website to pick up pretty much any of our stories as long as they republish them in full.
From the very beginning, we've thought in terms of partnerships to get the story out to a broader audience. And it can be a powerful complement in addition to the investigative reporting that we're able to do in print.
Those have ranged from leading television outlets, leading radio outlets,
I'm Ira Glass. Stay with us.
leading newspapers in the country, magazines, websites. We've really run the gamut.
We have done a number of stories over the years that have had impact. Nurses in the state of California were able to commit various kinds of wrongdoing. Sometimes they were drunk, they were stealing drugs from the patients, etc., and yet they would be allowed to keep their licenses for many, many years. We published a story about how long it took to discipline nurses in California on a Sunday morning, and by Monday afternoon, Governor Schwarzenegger had said hasta la vista to the entire nursing board and fired them all.
Montana, the surprising battleground over campaign finance.
Working with Frontline, we were able to approach the story in a different way, tell this very interesting tale of this dark money group that had effectively switched the legislature in Montana. And ProPublica really gives you the opportunity just to stick with something and to really make a point in many different ways and different platforms.
As a website focused on investigative reporting, it's not like we have to have a staff to produce a sports section every day.
Well, I cover Wall Street and finance. I'm not covering the day-to-day markets. I don't have to write about whether the Dow went up or down in a given day. I get to spend an enormous amount of time delving into the details of the way financial firms work, what they're doing.
We asked the investigative reporting outfit ProPublica to join up with us.
This American Life helped us make a story that could be listened to by literally millions.
We write a check for $10 million. Hand the check to a Wall Street bank.
Today, you need to tell people the story in as many ways as possible.
We're gonna bet against the American dream.
For our Pulitzer Prize-winning series, we actually commissioned a Broadway show tune.
The economy collapsing like a dying star.
Which I think is probably the first Broadway tune dedicated to structured finance.
We've been very pleased and very fortunate that we've been able to build something at ProPublica that swims against the tide and to advance when other people are retreating.
Is there anything in the Target thing that we need to be thinking about?
ProPublica was founded in 2007 by Paul Steger, Herbert Sandler, and Marianne Sandler. Paul Steger was a former managing editor of Wall Street Journal. Herbert and Marianne Sandler also founded the Golden West Financial Corporation, which helped to fund the start of ProPublica. Initially, a staff of 28 reporters and editors were hired. The corporation now has 34 full-time journalists.
ProPublica was formed by Herb and Marianne Sandler with the intent to, quote, expose abuses of power and betrayals of the public trust by the government, business, and other institutions using the moral force of investigative journalism to spur reform through the sustained spotlighting of wrongdoing. That's according to their mission statement on ProPublica.org. The founders also started ProPublica because there were very few other media entities engaging in original reporting with investigative facts. Rather, they felt as if there was too much opinion in what and how others were reporting the news.
According to the Washington Post, a 2011 investigation by ProPublica revealed the fact that white criminals such as Mark Rich were 4 times more likely to receive pardons than their minority counterparts, such as Chibueze Ikore, a Nigerian-born man. ProPublica journalists focused on analyzing evidence and data that they dug up from the Bush administration, which uncovered that there are hundreds of instances where white criminals with similar offenses received different outcomes when requesting pardons, the white party always being in favor. According to ProPublica journalists Daphne Linzer and Jennifer LaFleur, ProPublica took a random sample of 5,000 pardons, and in this sample, 12% of whites were pardoned, 10% of Hispanics received pardons, and out of the 62% of blacks that requested pardons, none received one.
Despite the fact that ProPublica was created to produce pure investigative pieces, there are many who believe they have an ulterior motive as to why they got started. For example, here's one credible source of that contradiction. According to Cheryl Chumley, a professor at the University of Phoenix, ProPublica, quote, churns out little more than left-wing pieces about Sarah Palin and blames the U.S. government for giving out too little foreign aid, unquote. They cite the fact that the founders, Herbert and Marion Sandler, have a history of supporting pure liberal political ideals and organizations. They receive a lot of their funding from pro-George Soros groups, and the fact that they have given more than $247 million to various political groups and political organizations and campaigns advocating for strict liberal policies, including a $13 million donation to John Kerry's presidential campaign in 2004.
According to the University of Phoenix, ProPublica does not publish its own reports. Instead, like a traditional newswire service, it tries to place its stories in established media outlets. However, unlike a for-profit wire service like AP, it makes its work available no cost. To date, ProPublica has worked with, among others, the Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, Dallas Morning News, and WNYC Radio.